and expenses were at $407,000 for the year. So net on revenues and expenses for the year, we're at $37,000 to the good. For the month, revenues were at $37,000. Expenses were at $78,000, so it was a little harder on us this month. So we're at negative $40,000 for the month. But let's go into a little bit of the detail for July. So that $37,000 for July in revenues, golf was at $9,000, the Marina was at $3,000, the pool was at $10,000, and general rec, which is typically lease rental income, $8,000. Expenses, $78,000. Those were $2,000 for the grounds, utilities, $20,000 for golf, $12,000 for the Marina, $12,000 for the pool, and the recreation department, which is programs, payroll, and benefits. We've got $38,000. So to highlight our run rate and how we're doing for the year in each category, the Marina we're $50,000 ahead. The pool we're $7,000 behind. So we need more people to come to the pool. Bring your kids. It's fun. I've been.
Where were you last night with your wife and your brood? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll tell you.
Oh,
all right. Festival, $11,000 to the good. So appreciate everyone there for the turnout. Golf is at minus $42,000, and general rec at $25,000. So all in all, for the year, we're balancing our budget. All of this nets out to a positive number. So good job, everyone.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Oh, is she done?
You snore?
Jen, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Brandon, when you give us that includes the millage money, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little deceiving. It sounds like people think that our programs are generating all this money. And really, a lot of it's coming from the millage. So is there a way to differentiate each month what's millage money and what is money that comes in for different
there is
entities?
Yeah. So
$50,000 has been added to our revenues.
yeah.
It seems like this year that swimming pool has been really good. I mean, I don't know what the numbers were 3 or 4 years ago because I wasn't the chairman and Kim wasn't here. But I mean, this year, I know, would you say 7,000? Sounds like a lot, but it just seems like it's way busier than I have seen it in the past. So fingers crossed, maybe by the end of the season. I mean, we're offering a lot.
Remember, we got off to a late start.
Oh, true. Yeah.
We're down 3 weeks.
Right.
Down 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, for example, on the pool fees, we've got $8,000 budgeted for the whole year, and we're at $6,400 for the year. So we're getting there.
Oh, cool.
Hanging in there. It's not that bad. But
When
we
you
got to
say-
consider that June was a
weather.
wash.
Is that when people come in and pay? Is that what you mean by fees?
Yeah, so that's the fees. But unlimited pool passes, we budgeted $11,000, and we're at $10,800. So
Wow,
We're close.
Kim. That's
So
great.
it's busy.
Yeah. But we're so close to the number, too.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Anything about the farms right now?
Nope, I touched base on that.
All right, Karen will be here next month. Recreation land, Brower hearing. And I know Rich is doing something with the wedding right now. Isn't he a preacher or something like that? He is. He officiates things. Is it? Mr. Kevin Naso, local business and community groups.
Yeah, absolutely. Spoke with Angela yesterday, and she wanted me to highlight a couple things. Tomorrow night is Movie on Macomb. It starts at 7 p.m. with music by Mirror Image, local duo of twin brothers. The Galindo's truck will be on site as well as Tin Can Coffee. And then the movie starts at 9 o'clock, and they're playing Back to the Future. This Sunday is another concert at the Commons hosted by the DDA, Grouse Hill Arts Alliance, and Rosie Meyer family. Pick up some garden veggies from the community grown gardens table as well. The CGG will start at 6, and the music is Barry Van Engelen, which starts at 7. Tuesday is 2 Scoop Tuesday and a taco at the Tasty Freeze on Macomb Street. So they'll have ice cream deals as well as Galindo's taco truck on site. And lastly, she wanted me to give a shout out to Pet on the Ritz for 15 years of business on Macomb Street.
Yay, Anne Marie.
So that's what I have there.
All right, and then you have
Absolutely.
recreation programs, Mr. Niso.
Going to highlight the July classes and activities. Great turnout from the numbers that were shared with me. The Discovery Art Camp had 20 participants. The Experienced Art Camp had 8. There was or is a girls' volleyball camp still going on, or is it over? Okay, so they had 25 participants. The lacrosse camp had a great turnout. I heard nothing but good things about that. 23 kids. Wrestling camp had 16. The Senior Olympics had 33 people turn out, as well as the Senior Luncheon with 23. And let's see, cross training had 11. Do you go to get into the flow yoga, Chad? Are you one of the participants?
You do that in the water too.
Yeah, I figured you would. Water aerobics had 20 people, which is a great turnout, and senior fitness had 10. And lastly, let's see. Christmas in July had 60-plus people last night, which was a great turnout. Little Chippers, 22. Golf Teen League, 6. Swim lesson session 2 had 66 kids. And the youth camp is averaging 20-plus kids per day. That's what I have. And I have to give a shout-out to baseball. Is that your team, Patrick, that is playing in the finals? Or not, a Gyra team?
There are a number of them, but no, they're not mine specifically.
14U?
14U boys you're talking
14U boys? So good luck. Are they done, or they're still playing?
No, there's a number of teams still. In fact, Mike is not here today because his team's playing in it.
Girls,
Okay,
right?
good.
14.
Yeah, and they're doing really
Good luck
well.
to them. Yeah, 14 and under. Well, it's basically 13 and under.
Thank you, Mr. Niso. Kyle, I have a question for you. When Kevin mentioned the garden vegetables at Sundays at the Commons, is that going on at Westcroft too? What day is that?
Yeah, I believe, if I understand it correctly, Westcroft, there's the market, so that's when they have a bunch of different things that are happening at Westcroft in the morning, and then Sundays for people to pick up for the CSA, the Community Supported Agriculture. So there's about 20 people this year that are supporting community grown gardens and get vegetables every week from that, and so they pick them up at the
So
Macomb.
Sundays is open to the general public.
No, Saturdays is the general public, and then
Saturday.
Sundays is just for people to pick up their vegetables that have been.
So you can go Saturday and shop for vegetables and breads and all that. The public can. What's the hours for that? Do you know?
9 to 12 on
So
Saturday
early.
morning.
And honey.
And honey.
Honey
Who's she?
and bread and lots of cool stuff.
Honey.
All right.
Island
Thank you. So yeah, Saturdays head over to Westcroft from 9 to noon and pick up some locally grown veggies and some breads and honey.
Well, and I was just going to say that Discovery Art Camp was wonderful. My niece and my son did it and had great things to say about that and the golf and the soccer camp. So
It's Ethel's turn though.
sorry,
Oh.
we were still on that.
I know. Sorry. Thanks. Miss Ethel Yopp, Senior Communications. I know you had a lot going on this week.
Mostly Olympics. Anyway, the next senior luncheon is Thursday, August the 15th at 12:30 p.m. at Centennial Farm Activity Room. Advanced reservations only, and the menu is fried chicken, potatoes, salad, rolls, dessert, and beverages. So where can you go to get a great lunch that includes all this, plus prizes, entertainment, and no tip for $10? You can't beat the price.
Wow.
And the senior club meetings are the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Kim is trying very hard through using the recreation department. We had 3 calls for new members, but they didn't show up. Sorry about that. Anyway, we meet at the activity room at 11:30 a.m. with dessert and coffee begins at 11:30, followed by a short meeting, occasional programs, and lots of conversation and fellowship, simple bingo and other games and trivia. And for information, you call 734-675-2364. And then, Kim, I've had a lot of questions still about the van. So will you explain again the use of the new van and the old van because people are kind of mixed up on
Okay.
that. I think you'll do a better job than I will.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go through just a couple of things. I first want to announce that Sue Posiak, who has been driving for Meals on Wheels and for the senior transportation, will no longer be driving. And it was a sad parting with the department. And again, that's kind of confidential things that I don't want to get into. But I just personally want to say thank you to Sue for everything that she did for this department and getting our seniors where they needed to go and delivering those meals for 25 years. She is a wonderful lady. I've been in communication with Sue. She's still with the department, and we're looking for some other things for her to be doing actively with the seniors, helping out with the lunches, possibly coordinating the transportation. So I wanted to start off with that first. So, but we are continuing to deliver Meals on Wheels. I have hired part-timer to help out with that. I'm doing meals. I've pitched in and kind of taken over the van transportation. So I did post on Facebook that I am looking for an afternoon driver, and that is posted on Facebook. And basically the position is taking the phone calls, picking up our seniors that are not able to drive. This is the small transit van. So if we're going to decipher between the two, we have the big van, the 15-passenger, and then we have the white transit van. And the information is posted in the profile. It's $5 on island and $6 off island round trip. So that's a pretty good bargain. And I am learning as I am physically doing this job right now, as I took 3 seniors today, that we have a lot of seniors on this island that are bound to their house. This program is very, very important to this island. And I think a lot of seniors don't know that it exists. So we need to, as a commission, if you are anywhere, it's the Kroger or who knows, and they need a ride to their doctor's appointment, we offer that service. Okay, so just keep that on the burner. And just getting to know the seniors that I've taken, this is their only way out of their home for some of them, to get to the Kroger, to get to the hair salon, and to get to the doctors. Rec is the only way out. So it's very, very important. So what Sue did to get this program off the ground is just remarkable. So, but the numbers are still the same. I just want, for the seniors that are watching, either call the rec department or the cell phone number that is there, and I am carrying that cell phone number, that cell phone, so I will be picking up. A lot of the seniors are like, what's going on? Where, So it's just me, and I'm driving, and it's okay. But so that I just wanted to kind of touch base on that. Now, with the big bus, that, again, unfortunately, we put that in on the road, the senior luncheon last month.
Yeah, that was great.
So we picked up a group on Macomb Street, and unfortunately, it's our first ride, and the air conditioning did not work. Brand new bus, okay? So it's in the shop right now. It is under warranty. So the plan for that bus, I cannot financially, and I'm being as honest as I can to the commission and the community, put that big bus on the road 5 days a week. The gas, the fees, it's virtually impossible. Because right now I have about 11 seniors, just 11, that utilize the transit in the afternoon. 11. And I know we have more seniors on the island than 11 that need transportation. So the plan with the big bus, and I'm putting the schedule together right now, is to do a monthly off-island adventure. Whether it's taking 14 seniors to a restaurant, to a movie.
Dino. Oh.
Somewhere. We don't know. But we are putting that schedule together right now. So that van is more for monthly trips, possibly going out to bi-monthly. We're starting to program that now. That is not a daily operational bus. If we have a handicapped senior that needs transportation, that is handicapped, that is in wheelchair, we will go pick them up. They need to call the rec department. Okay? So that's what we use that bus for. Okay? Am I clear? Does everyone understand the difference between the two buses? So in the next profile, you will see senior trips, okay? Once a month, restaurant, movies, mall, wherever, okay? So we're going to just start off slow with that, okay? Did I answer your question, Ethel?
Yeah, well, that's people wanted to know why we weren't using the big bus for small, for the small things. I tried to explain, but I thought you would be better at doing that.
Right. I mean, and when you say the small things, I don't know what the small things are. You mean for daily transportation?
The daily transportation. They wanted to know why you weren't using the big bus for that now that we had it. But
I can tell you that the gas mileage on the big bus versus the senior transit is a lot different. And you also have to have a CDL license to drive the big bus. I don't have currently on staff a CDL driver, okay? But I would not use the big bus just to take someone to the grocery, take someone to a hair salon.
That's what makes sense.
That's just common sense. So the transit is more economical, smaller, and it gets to where we need to go. So there's the answer to that.
Yeah, with people with walkers and canes and things, the small bus is fine.
Correct. But that's why I said,
yeah.
I said it tonight, if someone's in a wheelchair that needs that transportation, that's what that bus would be used for. I've not got that call yet. So we got to get that word out there.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's very good. And then I think they spoke about the Grouse Olympics. I thought we had around 28 people, but the people that don't sign up, they're missing a great, great opportunity.
Very fun, very fun.
And then I also had, for people that haven't picked it up yet, the bridge is going to be closed August the 23rd on a Friday from 9 to 3, and August 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th, it's going to be closed from 9 to 3. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ethel, I want to run something by you. I've been approached CVS at Target in Woodhaven, and I ran this by Kim, and I gave her some paperwork tonight. They would like to come in the fall and do free flu shots for our senior citizens. So they gave me a list of dates. That's what that paper was I gave you earlier. I know you're busy, but do you think there'd be any interest in that? And we can do it at the farms. We get to pick 2 days. It's free. CVS will come with their technicians and do free flu shots at Centennial Farms.
It might be interesting if you give me the information.
You just, all they have to do is bring their insurance card. They will give Kim all the liability stuff, CVS will, and we can even transport them. If we get a group, we can take the big bus or the little bus and get them over to the farm. So
it all depends, Chad. We had for years a blood pressure group, nurses from Wyandotte Hospital, and no one from the island came except just the senior group.
This could only be seniors. It's not for children or anything unless Kim wants to discuss that with the pharmacist. But it's just a senior program.
And that's our pharmacy right here on the island.
No, it's the one at Target in Woodhaven. That's where I go. And she's approached me. She asked me about 2 months ago, and I said, well, let me run it by Kim and the Rec Commission, and Kim can get all the paperwork handled. But do you think there might be interest in that for the senior group for free flu shots this year?
Well, we just had a meeting, but I could ask the
it wouldn't be until there's like 6 or 7 dates in September, then 2 in October. Yeah.
So we would pick one of those?
We get 2. We can pick 2. They'll come out for 2 different dates, yes. Thank you, Shannon. I know you're an island resident. She is an island resident, the pharmacist lady. So, but they're willing. CVS would love to do that. So it might just be something we can put in our fall program and offer to the seniors.
So they'll do flu shots and pneumonia. What about shingles?
I don't know what they cover. I don't know. I faint every time I get a flu shot.
Just the flu shot, because those are the 3 main ones.
No, it was a flu shot. I'll get more detail, but I wanted to bring it up tonight and ask you.
Hey, thank you, Chad.
Yes, thank you, Ethel. Okay, on to Wendy Kearney for our school liaison updates.
I know the girl, we're out of school right now, so the girls didn't have anything. They're enjoying their summer vacations, of course. The only thing I wanted to touch on is that Park Lane is doing, actually Lindsay Parsons, who's one of our second grade teachers, is doing a Park Lane Reads Grozio program. And what they've done this year is meet at different locations. The first place was Tasty Freeze. The second time they met was at the Playscape. We did it last night, which was at the police department and fire department. Just bring your blanket, bring a book. They read for about 20, 30 minutes. The kids can actually get a book when they're there to take home with them. And the next one is going to be on August 1st at Water's Edge Pool. So it'll be at 5 o'clock. And then the kids can read and then go swimming afterwards. And it'll be $1 per person to swim. So we encourage folks to come out and enjoy.
Nice.
Mixes reading as well as having something fun to do. So
next Thursday, it's $1 to swim.
well, for the reading program, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
Club.
not for everybody.
Not for just for that club.
Just for the reading program, yeah. So come out and join us. So, and that's all I had for the school. They're out right now, so
When does school start back, you know?
September 3rd, I think it is.
I am seeing school stuff everywhere, back to school clothes.
I know it should be outlawed until at least the second week of August.
Christmas stuff.
Don't push it.
All right, that brings us to our 4 action items tonight. So, action item 10A, vote and approve to obtain RFP for Marina Dock Elevation Project. Do you want to brief anybody on this since we already know what it is, or?
I think if we look at the marina and we know the water level is extremely high, it's time to build them up. So
I can put a motion out for this. I can put a motion to vote and approve to obtain request for proposals for Marina Dock Elevation Project. I'll put the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Wendy, all in favor of this?
I do think it's.
We'll discuss it. Yep.
Just for the video, I think it's important. This is just a request for proposal.
Yes.
It's just to get proposals of what that would be, and then the proposals will come before the commission, and we'll be
Township
able to
board.
do that. So I just want for folks watching on TV to know that
Yes.
that's what this is for.
So all in favor of this vote? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? So moved. Action item 10B, vote and approve to use the Wayne County Commission Recreation Grant to level out the recreation area land located at Commerce Park, known as the Sled Hill. We are looking to do some work over there so that we can have hundreds of kids utilize that property in the spring, summer, and fall, opposed to a handful of kids during the wintertime.
yeah, you got to do a motion first and then discussion.
And discuss it. All right. So I'm going to put a motion out there to approve the Wayne County Community Recreation Grant to level out the recreation area land located at Commerce Park, known as the Sled Hill. Can I get a second?
Second.
Ethel. All in favor? So we do this,
Aye.
then we discuss?
No,
No,
dis-
discussion.
discussion.
Any discussion about this? All in favor to move forward with this?
Kim, can you? I know you've given us
We're going to do
numbers.
discussion before we vote.
I know you've given us numbers on how many people use the sled hill, and it wasn't very much, right? Could you go into that for us? Yeah.
You know, and again, it's hard to take something away from the community. There's no doubt about it. My daughter uses Sled Hill. I see kids using the Sled Hill. I'd video, and it's a great thing. But, you know, what we're looking at as a commission in moving forward with big projects, obviously we know the number of kids. We've had soccer stand in front of us. We've had football stand in front of us. Baseball stands in front of us. And hundreds of kids that utilize those fields behind us. Okay? You know, as we look down the road, the master plan that was developed, you know, our goal as a commission is to make things better for our community. And the vision at Commerce Park is down the road, get these baseball fields built. They're moving forward. Soccer is strong. Football is strong. We have no restrooms. We have no parking. And we have no playground at Commerce Park. The only leftover land that the rec department owns is that area. So the hardest decision we got to make is, what are we going to do? Are we going to, stay with what we have, Or can we have a vision and better that area out there with things that are needed when you have an outdoor sports complex? We've all gone to all the other cities. Are you in a porta potty? Do you not see a playground by your ball diamond and your soccer fields? Those are the things we've got to ask ourselves.
And a hot dog and a Coke.
And a concession stand.
Yeah.
You know, things
Somewhere
like that.
down the road, yeah.
So if you drive by there on a Saturday afternoon in soccer, I mean, there's hundreds of kids out there. And again, we've got soccer, football, baseball that would be utilizing that area for 9 months out of the year. A sled hill, we can get 2, maybe. We had 12 days of snow, I believe it was. So, yes, it's hard taking things away. Don't get me wrong, but as a commission and myself as the director, my goal is to expand that property that we have, and we need those things down there to expand that. So that's all I have to say.
Is there a dollar amount attached to that grant? Is it $50,000?
50.
It's 50,000, and we have multiple proposals that have come in.
Right.
from
So,
different
but
companies.
the max would be 50,000.
Max is 50.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if this is the place to ask the question, but I am curious. I don't quite fully understand the airport's plan for the land just south of that, and I wonder. I don't know. Maybe I have to attend an airport commission meeting or something like that. But I want to understand that a little bit better. I mean, I think we're doing what we can with the land that we have, and I'm happy with what's moving forward. And I want to understand what the airport's plan for the land just south of that too, because that feels like land that could be productively used in whatever way. And I don't really understand what the plan is or how that's moving forward, because I know we're moving forward north of that land, and I want to understand what's happening south.
Nothing
Like for us
nothing I
to
know
use
of.
any of that property, because we've approached them multiple times and they're not going to budge on letting us have any more.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it. If they're not, I don't know. I just want to understand, like, what, you know, we're moving, things are happening, and I want to understand what the airport's plan for that is, because that's a huge amount of space that I think could be productively used. That feels like it's not being productively used right
Jay,
now.
we should probably have Mike Duker come to a meeting and
I
explain
don't
that to us.
know. I think that Kyle can go to one of that. No, I'm just saying you should
Yeah.
go to one. We don't need
Okay.
Duker here. We're moving on with what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I can do it. I will. I can commit to that. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't at the last township meeting. I know there was a loan given to the airport commission, and so
700,000.
So there's resources going into that, and it's just like I want to understand. Okay, you know, we're struggling here to do what we can north of the property. There's a lot of improvements need to be made, and so I'm just wondering what happens with that southern part. So I just wanted to say that, and then sorry to switch gears real quick, but I forget the exact amount of kids you said that did it last year, Kim, but it was very few. And I know, but even then, I know like people have fond memories of going down that hill, of taking a snow day and sledding, and so I don't know if there's I can't commit, or I don't know if there's a way to commit right now to figuring it out, but maybe there is a way we can find another place for someone to do something like that, you know, whether it's, you know, one day a year, 2 days a year, like having a snow day and saying, hey, let's sled here or something. So I don't know if there's a place like that on the island, but I will try and find something like that.
I've
If
been
there's
sledding on Bellevue well, not now, but
and we all have our places that
say
we've-
where, but
that we,
you know,
yeah, we all have
y'all
our
know
places
where.
that we've done it, or kids do it, and so I wonder if there's a way to more formally find a place for something like that, and just say, hey, this is where we can go on a snow day and have that fond memory that people might have on this sled hill. So
How many years has that hill been there? Does anybody know? Because I just don't.
I don't know the answer.
15?
yeah.
Kyle, you were sledding on that thing?
No, I haven't, but there's other places I've sled, and I just know what the memories like to sled, and even if you've only done it once in your life, you look at that and you're like, you like the idea of being able to sled there, you know. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way to find another place for that. You know, maybe we go to Riverview and get that
Mount Trashmore?
thing going again.
I don't know if Kim knows what that is. Mount Trashmore.
I don't know what that is.
But anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Right out there.
Thank you.
I'd be curious of what the rules are and with surrounding open space.
Exactly.
Yeah, is that land just untouchable?
Well, most of it's flat. That's the other problem. So, but yeah, like I said, I don't have any idea how to do that now. But if there are complaints, and I imagine there will be, like maybe we can try and think through an opportunity, to turn this into a positive rather than
Right,
just a negative,
but I think a lot of it is that hundreds of kids can utilize that 9 months out of the year, opposed to a week during the winter, and have.
I mean, we're in need of parking. I mean, that's phase one would be the parking for sure. Because when we start getting ball diamonds built and soccer's growing and football's growing, we're running out. We have no parking. They're all over the place. So.
Any more discussion about this vote? I put the motion. I need a second, please. Wendy second,
No,
or
Ethel.
Ethel did. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. That brings us to action item 10C. Vote and approve to repair the storm drain at Sunrise Park using township drainage funds.
Is that a motion?
So I want to say something. And in the Roberts rules, it was the motion,
In a second.
second,
Then we discuss.
then vote.
Right. Correct. Mm-hmm.
I'll put the motion out there.
I'll second it.
No, you put the motion because you're township liaison. That would be good coming from you, right?
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we use funds from the township drainage budget to repair the storm drain that is part of Sunrise Park and needs to probably go away. But we're finding that out, and it's the right thing to do.
Okay, the motion's out there. I need a second. Kevin, second. Any discussion about this?
Do we have the oversight to use those funds?
Yes, we were told.
Well,
Jim and I.
the reason it's on our agenda is because that is our park. I've had discussions with Trustee Nelson and Township Manager Mr. Ram that those funds will be allowed to fix that.
It would
That's
go
why it's
to
on
the
there.
DPS Commission for approval because they do oversee the drainage fund budget. But
I would go to them.
We
Doesn't
can
it
do
go
it.
to the township?
it goes to township after that.
Okay.
We're just approving, because it is in a recreational park that we are saying, okay, let's fix the
Right.
drain.
So it goes to DPS from here.
All right. So Kevin seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. That brings us to 10D action item. We are currently having, doing upgrades to the marina. In good faith, we would like to offer 15% to our current stockholders for the 2019 season refund. Word that okay? Everybody understand what that was when we did that? Give them a little bit of change back in their pocket. So we're going to recommend this. I will put the motion out to do that, to vote and approve to 15% to our current stockholders for the 2019 season at Water's Edge Marina. Can I get a
Second it.
Jim second? Any discussion about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moved. So moved. All right.
I can vote.
No, Jim can vote. Yeah. Jim's
Okay.
allowed to. And we have a quorum tonight.
Tim can't, but I guess I can.
All right. That was a lot. Yes, I get exhausted spending money like that.
I don't make them. I have to abide by them.
Number 11, discussion items. Any discussion items? Any extended public comment? Martha? Bad? Oh, we good? All right.
I enjoyed myself at the Senior Olympics.
Thank you.
Good.
Why don't you come up here and tell us that? Come on up here, Martha. She's always in the crowd. Come up here and tell us who you are and where you live, and tell us how much you like that.
Okay, my name's Martha Butler. I live on Macomb Street, and I enjoy everything there, but I did go to the Senior Olympics. I went to the opening ceremony, which was wonderful in the way they opened it, and I was very pleased when they honored all the veterans. Had them stand up and whatever. And I did go to the ballroom competition just to see it.
I could have been your partner. I'm a great ballroom dancer.
I didn't participate.
Girl, I can move.
But I was disappointed because there were very few people competing, and they did a lot of work. I enjoyed it, and if these seniors here, even on the island, if you don't go, don't participate, you're missing a great deal.
I was at the ping pong. We hosted ping pong on Grouse,
Yes.
and it was great. I mean, you guys were bringing it out there, so.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but everybody should go. Ethel did, Agnes did. I even met some more Grouse people that I did not know.
Nice. Good. Thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And that was a shout out to Southgate. They were the host this year,
Southgate
and
was.
they did a great job. I was at opening as well. A little rough week for me this week with some things, but I'll be at the luncheon tomorrow, and just proud of our seniors. You know, I wish we had 50. I think I said that last year, but you know, we're getting there. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks, Martha. And I did take Arthur Murray. I can do a mean cha-cha and tango. So, all right. Thank you. All right, girl. All right. That's for extended public individual commissioner comments. I want to say something first of all. I have been hearing, and I'm not trying to boost our egos, but I've heard so many good things about our recreation director, Ms. Kim O'Farrell, and this commission of what we've done the last couple of years, the programs that we're offering, the things that we're doing. I know that we can, things can be challenging at times, but I want to thank everybody out there. I mean, your kind words go a long way. It means a lot because we do a lot. And thank you, Kim, for taking us in the right direction most of the time. And thank you. So we're good. Thanks, Jim. All right, Kevin, you got anything?
I'm just gonna. I'll add on to what Kyle said. I'll go with you to the next airport meeting if you're going, because I agree that we're going above and beyond what we need to do, and I've been fighting it for 8 years to use an empty piece of land that all I want to do is put a soccer field out there for 3 months a year, and it seems like it's always a fight and struggle. So I'll bring it up. I've got no problem with that. So
all right,
you got a lot of kids out there, and then to piggyback onto what you said, I mean, the Rec Commission does a great job. So all the programs that are put in place, just keep supporting them so we can keep doing what's best for the community.
Good.
Good.
Ms. Wendy Kearney?
Nope, I don't.
Brandon?
No comments.
Kyle?
I do have a couple things. I'm sorry, everyone. I know I've been speaking a lot this evening, but I think the Community Grown Gardens and the Groseal Historical Society are partners of the recreation, right? They're like community partners or something like that.
Say that again.
Community Grown Gardens and the Groseal Historical Society, are they?
Historical is because we do the shared parking.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was like a partnership, but anyway, there's something really special happening at Westcroft this year with what Community Grown Gardens has led with the markets. They've been doing it on and off. I want to say for 3 years now, and it was tried before then, but this year it's become really special where. There's a class every Saturday. Tin Can Coffee, I think, has really made it. And then there's a couple. The Fote family, their kids make bread every weekend, and so it's become kind of a community thing that happens every Saturday. It's really cool. Unfortunately, last Saturday was too hot, so they canceled. But every Saturday there from 9 to 12 has been pretty cool every summer. And tomorrow there's a class around bee education that's just been like getting tons of interest. I think we've got like 150 people interested in the event without much promotion. So
Who's doing that?
It's Island Girls Honey. She has honey now too, which has taken her a little bit longer.
That's
than
Stephanie Kearney, right?
Yes, yep, exactly.
Sister-in-law.
Oh yeah. And so it's just been really cool to see that kind of happen, and I encourage people to support it. And then with the Groseal Historical Society, Chad mentioned Founders Day, which we were really happy to do. We put that on every year for the benefit of the Historical Society. But on Saturday, we're doing a Lighthouse Sunset Cruise, and we've already got 40 people interested in that. The Lighthouse is I hope folks know, is jointly maintained by the Historical Society and the township. I think probably more than I should of what it means to be like along the waterfront in a waterfront community. And for me, a lighthouse is a huge symbol of what that means. And whether it's hope or wisdom or whatever it is, but just having that there, I think, is a really cool thing. It's open. We're going to do the tour on September 8th of the lighthouse. There's only 96 spots, 43 already taken, so that gets filled up really quickly every year. It's one really good opportunity to see and learn about the lighthouse. But to try to give people more access, we're doing a sunset cruise with Diamond Jack, and while we can't get too close because of the high water levels, there will be a tour along, just along and reflecting on. There used to be actually 6 lighthouses in and around Grouse, and now there's only one left, the North Channel Light, which we maintain. So it's just something I don't know. It's just something that I think inspires me about being part of our community here, and I encourage people to be a part of it. So those are my 2 things.
Are you doing the Lighthouse Tour, or is the water too high to get out there?
We will do the Lighthouse Tour on September 8th, and the water is not too high for that. But the Sunset Cruise is this Saturday, July 27th.
Okay.
It's taking off at 7 from Bishop Park in Wyandotte through Diamond Jack. And that will be from relatively far away from the channel, just because you can't get too close to the island because of the high water levels in the wake can damage docks and stuff like that.
And who's your MC on that boat ride?
We unfortunately, Mr. Loftus was not able to do it, so I think it might be me. Unfortunately, I didn't want to tell people that, but
the rumor mill said you.
That might make people not want to come, but it might be me. 150. Yep. So we've got exactly.
I've done it multiple times. It's a lot of fun. So, and Ethel, do you have anything else you'd like to bring?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Sue Posiak for all the things and help she's been to the seniors through all these years. With the transportation and helping them with their needs. And the seniors are really going to miss her, the people that use the transportation and the Meals on Wheels. So thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson? Kim?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I have a couple of things, too. I want to thank the Nature and Land Conservancy for all they do, keeping up with Sunrise Park, the cleanups, the upgrades. I can't thank them enough. And also to the Garden Club for all the work they do, not only in Centennial Farm. I don't have a green thumb at all. And if it wasn't for those group of ladies doing what they do out at the farm, just a shout out to them and everything they do over the township, all the properties that they maintain. So a big shout out to them. Thank you. And then I also, just an announcement for the Grosse Ile Fire Department. The open house is this coming I believe Saturday, July 28th. I hope that's a Saturday. Is that
Sunday?
Sunday. I did it again. Sunday, July 28th from 12 to 4, and that is at the fire department. That's all I have.
Thank you. You said Garden Club. I want to shout out to the Beautification Commission, too. They do a good job, too. And if you do go by Smokies and Water's Edge on Thursday night, please just be patient. I mean, we have a lot going on, and there's plenty of parking. So just keep your eye out when you're driving around there. I want to say hi to Phyllis and Bree. And I will be home soon after my beverages. Our next meeting is August 22nd. And with that being said, I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:13. So moved. Second?
I second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you and have a good rest of your summer. See you in August.
Seconded.
microphone. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The regular meeting of the Grouse Township Planning Commission will come to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anybody want to change the agenda from that presented? Seeing no hands, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Motion from Eric, support. Support from Jim. Call to question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item is the minutes from the May 20th, 2019 meeting. Does anybody have any questions or concerns regarding those minutes? Dan?
No.
Jay?
No.
Jim?
No.
Eric?
No.
Huda?
No.
Entertain a motion, please, to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Motion from Jay, support. From Eric, call to question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. As usual, Lori, well done. We always appreciate your work. Next item is public comment, an opportunity for citizens to speak with the commission about any item not on the agenda. Seeing no hands, we'll move on to the first item for business, which is a site plan review for a subdivision or a site condominium project called Shady Acres. The applicant is Daryl Rande, R-A-N-D-E, 27900 South Point Drive, Grouse. Representing Mr. Rande is Mr. Tim Gross-Kloss. The legal description of the property is lot number 290 of Supervisors Grouse plot number 21. The common description is 27990 South Point Drive. This is on the northwest corner of the intersection of South Point and Broadhead Road. And this is immediately north of the bridge, which goes on to South Point. The proposal, there currently is a 3.5 acre site that contains 2 separate lots that run east-west along Broadhead. The lot closest to South Point Drive is vacant. The lot closest to the water is the residence 27990. The proposal is to combine both lots into a site condominium project in order to give the lot along South Point Drive a non-contiguous 10-foot by 50-foot section of waterfront property in the developed waterfront lot. The zoning is R1B with that's single-family residential. The process for site condominiums is outlined in Chapter 71 of the Municipal Code, and it specifies that the processes follow Chapter 238 of Subdivision Control, also in the Municipal Code. That outlines 6 steps. Step 1 is a pre-application review. That was conducted at the May meeting. 2 is a Planning Commission pre-preliminary plat approval, followed by a Planning Commission tentative preliminary approval, finally a board tentative preliminary approval, and then board final approval, and then finally board plat approval. 6 steps, long process. We're at step 2, which is the Planning Commission pre-preliminary plat review. The Planning Commission may or may not vote on this matter tonight. At this point, I'll stop and look to Mr. Borden to provide additional details.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the introduction. You've probably covered half of my points already, so I'll make this nice and quick. So here is a visual of the property that the chairman just described. So this is the existing residence. If you can just see my cursor on there. So we're at the northwest corner of South Point, which runs along the right side, and Broadhead along the south side of the property. As Chairman mentioned, the request before you is a 2-unit site condominium under the township code. This is essentially the process and the design standards and the requirements are laid out in 3 separate chapters. So there's a lot to take into consideration. We have to look at the condominium provisions, the subdivision control ordinance, which lays out all of the design requirements, even though it's not a subdivision per se. The design requirements are the same, and then also the applicable regulations within the zoning ordinance. So there is a lot to look at here. Chairman mentioned we did already conduct the pre-application conference. He went through the process already. We're looking at this as a preliminary. It's technically it's a pre-preliminary, I think is the way it reads. I think I wrote it up as a preliminary, but that's essentially where we are this evening. So these are a few photographs of the site. The chairman was kind enough to do some site visits and provide me with some photos as part of the review process. So in the left side, you have a view of the waterfront, obviously. In the middle / bottom right, we have a view looking towards the water along Broadhead. And then in the upper right, we have a view of the residence almost from the corner, not quite from the intersection, but angled in towards the site. So you get a feel for some actual street level views of the property as it relates to this overhead aerial image. The plan itself, hopefully this is somewhat legible. I tried my best. I couldn't scan the entire plan in, so I had to take a photograph of it. So I stood on a chair. I did not fall off said chair, and tried to get a straight down photograph of this, and I did the best I could. So, as was described earlier, so prior to 1990, this was a single parcel. So this 3+ acre, really large size waterfront parcel, frontage on South Point and on Broadhead, residence constructed here. In 1990, the township granted a land division that split off the front parcel at the corner. Oopsie. So that is how this exists now. So as part of this plan, and again, it was described verbally, but I want to show you graphically. So the proposal would entail the majority of this parcel would, with the existing residence, would be Unit 1 of this new site condo. Essentially everything at the parcel boundary, save for this new piece of waterfront land, with the attempt to then create, as part of the site condo, a non-contiguous or a leapfrog situation whereby Unit 2 would have this piece of land, and I believe it was 50 by 10, if I'm not mistaken, at the waterfront along the shoreline. So that's the non-submerged portion, and then obviously the actual property descriptions extend out into the river. So that's really what we're looking at here tonight. There already are 2 buildable parcels contained as part of this property. What the petitioner is trying to do is obtain waterfront access for the parcel at the corner. So again, kind of a non-contiguous combination, if you will, via the use of the site condominium tool. That's really the gist of why we're here. A quick overview of my entire review letter. So the first one is something the petitioner will have to obviously address most of these. Some of them are pretty straightforward, easy little quick fixes or just questions to be answered. Some of them are going to require some refinement and or additional information. So the very first one is that under your condominium ordinance as well as your subdivision control regulations, any site condominium or any new development, a new subdivision or a new condominium that abuts public roadways has to have those roadways improved to current requirements if they are not already. Those of you that were able to get out there and I showed one of these photos, you can see Broadhead is a gravel road. So Broadhead is not improved to current specifications. So if this project is to move forward, part of site condominium approval will require the petitioner to improve Broadhead Road the entire length of the property that it abuts. So that's point number one. The second one is just kind of a correction, clarification. There are a few different indications of lot areas contained, some of which include submerged lands, some of which are essentially what we would count as lot area, which would be just the developable portion or the portion above the water line. So I'm just asking for a little clarification because, like for Unit 1, we've got total, we've got submerged, we've got net. That's pretty self-explanatory. Unit 2 is identified only as 0.607, which is actually much larger than what the lot area calculation would be were we to count it the way we would do it under definitions in the zoning ordinance. So would like some clarification there. The big one we already talked about. So my opinion, trying to create waterfront access in a non-contiguous method, sort of, I think one of the terms I used in my letter was leapfrogging, sort of jumping over the existing residential parcel to try to gain waterfront access for a detached, non-contiguous separate parcel. I just don't see how that should be allowed. We wouldn't allow it in a land division. We wouldn't allow it in a subdivision. I think the same applies in a site condominium situation. It's simply, it's not just this particular instance. I can think about the long-term implications of allowing more people to have waterfront access for parcels that aren't actually waterfront parcels. And I think if you think about all of the locations where this could potentially occur, you could really start to see some issues arise on the waterfront, not to mention some issues between neighbors with intensification of the use of that property. So that's probably the biggest hang up I have with this entire request. The next one is something that will, if this is to move forward, we will obtain input from a few other bodies. So the ordinance does allow you to require sidewalks as part of a site condominium development. Now, there are no sidewalks currently on Broadhead or the west side of South Point. There is a bike path on the opposite side, and quite frankly, at face value, I don't really see the benefit of requiring sidewalks. But with that being said, you do have a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee, and I am not 100% up to speed with what their current plans are. So if, given their input, there is reason to require sidewalks, whether it's, along Broadhead or just along South Point, whatever it might be, we would want to take that into consideration as part of this process. Right now, they would probably just be sidewalks to nowhere, and if there are no plans to further expand that, then it's probably unnecessary. But I also don't want to miss an opportunity if it does fall into place and aligns with another committee's job or their plans for the future. I'd want to make sure that we get that in as part of this. There is not a landscape plan currently included. The only ordinance requirement is for street trees. We would need at some point in time a landscape plan to be provided. That being said, you can see in the aerial photo, my guess is those requirements are probably met with existing trees. But we would want to see this as part of a plan and understand that the street trees would be required so that if and when Unit 2 or the frontage, the corner parcel is developed, at least some of these trees would have to remain, even if they're in the building envelope potentially. We do have woodlands ordinances. Obviously, we'd have to get into greater detail, but at a minimum, we need to make sure those street trees are retained to keep this in compliance. Next one is the applicant did provide in the time since pre-app and up to and including this submittal, they did provide the condominium documents as required. So there are condominiums require master deeds and bylaws. So there is a draft of that provided. Those are usually pretty technical legal documents, and I don't usually offer comments unless I see something really out of whack or something really catches my eye. I usually defer detailed review of those or technical reviews to the township attorney. So that would be something we'd look for in the future. Similarly, any site engineering issues that arise, including utilities and infrastructure, we'll want to get input from DPS as well as the township engineering consultant. And then lastly, anything that police or fire may have offered or may offer up as part of this review process, we'd want to take that into consideration as well. That's all I have right now, Mr. Chair.
Very good, Brian. Thank you very much. Great summary. At this point, let's hear from the applicant, Mr. Grouse. I believe you're representing. Welcome to the Planning Commission.
Tim Grouse, thank you all for coming. Just a couple of issues. One, you mentioned that this was R1B zoning, and Brian calls this out as R1A, and it's also on the zoning map as R1A.
Negative. It's R1B with an R1E overlay.
So the zoning is currently?
Zoning is R1E overlay. Brian?
So anytime we split, I do think the base zoning, I think, is R1A.
Okay.
If I'm looking at the map correctly. Anytime we split or create a new parcel, apply a new site condominium, then the R1E overlay requirements kick in. So yes. Does that make sense? Sorry, R1E does apply.
Yeah, I stand corrected. R1A.
Okay, very good. That's waterfront provisions. I received this from Brian on Friday, so I haven't really had time to address any of these issues. So our request tonight, I guess, would be to table this, give us some time to absorb this and make some revisions. But I would point out a couple of things. One, with all due respect, Brian, I don't see that word leapfrog in the ordinance. I don't see that. And what happens with a condominium is it's considered one parcel. There is no leapfrog. And I think you all received a copy of the same two-site condo on West River and Hawthorne. So it has been approved in the past.
The additional thoughts?
I was just giving everyone a minute to look at that. The other thing I'd like the Planning Commission to consider is that, I'm a real estate broker too, and I look at what people want in the market, and people don't want 3-acre sites. It's beautiful for all the neighbors, but really difficult to sell or to get anyone. Even if they have the money, they don't want to spend it. So I think we need to think about better land use, better access to the water. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. So in closing, we'd like to table if we can and revise our plan.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, comments from the commission, please. Jay, let's start with you.
Yeah, I guess I would ask both the chair and Brian's thoughts on, how much of this we want to go into. I'm prepared to ask some questions and see what the responses are, and to the extent the answer is we'll get back to you, that's fine too. But if we don't want to spend the time on that, I'm happy to hold those until next time.
No, I think it's important for the applicant to hear the thoughts and questions of the commission sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So please feel free to
Well, I'm happy to.
proceed.
Yeah, so these questions are really as much for the applicant as for Brian, but I guess I'm interested in both the thoughts of both. I think as you saw in Brian's note, he says that aside from longstanding instances where a roadway bisects a waterfront parcel, we're unaware of other projects where the township granted non-contiguous combination. I guess I would ask the question. Maybe this part's for Brian, but then also what alternatives maybe were evaluated, maybe for the applicant. To get that. In other words, could have been done through an easement or any other sort of method.
Well, so the township has these rules on docks. Who's allowed to have a dock and how many boats you can have at each of these docks. And that requires other governmental approvals outside of the township. And they won't allow you to have a dock if you don't own the land. So an easement doesn't allow you to have a dock.
Okay. All right. And then, so reading between the lines here, and maybe it's clearer than between the lines, but just to make sure, I understand. The purpose of going to the condo approach is to get that, as you said, one unit, one parcel that the owners of the condominium complex can designate access to certain areas, right?
That's correct, yes.
And then the flip side of that, though, is, as I understand it, by going to the condominium rules, it brings in road improvement requirements that wouldn't be required in any other scenario. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That was brought up in this Friday letter, which we were a little bit unaware of, but looks correct.
All right. So I won't ask you what your thoughts are on that yet, unless you're prepared to share them.
No, we'd like to. I mean, we know that's a requirement, and we need to address that.
Okay.
But we really haven't had time to do that.
And there are 6 homes using that street currently?
Correct.
This would be a 7th.
Correct.
The way to think about it. Okay. And the other question I had is, and this wasn't raised in the letter, but along South Point, along that area, there are pretty consistent setbacks of the homes, including the existing home. I don't believe there would be any requirement to, it's not like a waterfront property where it has the vision triangles, etc. I mean, is there any issue with having a home built closer to South Point than all the rest going north from there?
Right.
Yeah,
in this case, no, because it's not a waterfront lot. It's a corner inland parcel. It's not a waterfront lot.
Right, but the
provisions of the average shoreline setback only apply along the waterfront.
But there's no general front yard setback sort of uniformity rule. I didn't think so. I just wanted to ask.
Quick question though: does that change if the waterfront access of that small corner is allowed? Then all of a sudden that parcel has waterfront access. Does that change how we look at that property?
I think, as I've already sort of noted, I don't think it should be allowed to have waterfront access. But, at that point, if it's considered in that light, I mean, then the parcel is essentially unbuildable because the average shoreline setback would be off the property. So I think it would be really tough to apply that regulation in this particular instance.
Well, I guess I raise it because you've got two sides of this coin. And sometimes you have that saying, you want your cake and you want to eat it too.
Yep. If I may, if you look at the south end of Grow Road, Grow Road, where South Point meets it, that's the same scenario, and I think there's 3 houses on Grow Road. So the difference is they have 2 roadsides, 2 road fronts.
And on the other side of the road from the property we're talking about on Broadhead, there's 5 houses there, and it's actually lined up. If you look at the site plans, it's lined up with those houses there, so it does meet the setback of those houses. So it's lined up with the other side of the street.
On Broadhead. On the
Broadhead.
Broadhead side.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
think Mr. Fucci was asking about the South Point.
Yeah, and sir, are you Mr. Randy?
Randy, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I guess I'll ask the question of Brian, and then to the extent you think it's more appropriate to have the discussion another time or place, but Mr. Grossgloss has given the example of, I believe it was his house coming off Hawthorne Glen, and saying that it's the same sort of thing. You seem to draw a distinction where it crosses where there's a roadway that bisects the waterfront parcel, and I think what you're suggesting there is that if I own a house on East River, for example, there's a roadway in between. I own the land on the other side, even though there's a road in between. Does it make sense to address at this point Mr. Grossgloss's point that we do have at least one similar example? Or is there a distinction that you could point out between?
Well, part of it is I would ask how long ago those were approved. That would be I'm going to answer your question with the question, and I couldn't.
Clearly not an answer I can provide.
I couldn't give you the exact date. I can tell you.
It's about 20 years ago?
Not recently.
No, it's about 20 years ago.
17.
17. You remember because I was living in the Hawthorne condos, and it was a hotly contested issue at the time. The condo association, I guess the people in that first unit had an issue with the initial lot split, and then the aspect of access for the back parcel toward the road. But I looked at it the same way, that when you see West River Road crossing, you don't have the issue then of having to cross somebody else's property to get to your waterfront. But
if I may, the whole issue, you can't own a waterfront parcel and have a dock on it without a primary residence. That's the rule. So, Hawthorne is non-contiguous. It isn't connected in any way to the boat dock. And by the way, just for history, I didn't submit that. Chester Drake owned that property and submitted that.
he owned the roadside.
Right, and then we bought from him. So it's non-contiguous, but it's still all one condo parcel.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just remembered there's one other similar instance on Church Road where I believe a house that is on Church but not on the waterfront was able to purchase either the road end but was able to build a dock on the at the base of Church Road. And that was probably also 10, 15 years ago. But that is one other instance that I know of where a house that is not on the waterfront has gotten waterfront access by purchasing either the road end or a portion of that. And he has an easement with a neighbor to get around, if I'm not mistaken, to get around the the border, the traffic border.
There's another one of those on West River Road where I think they live on Lakewood, but I don't know when that was created or if it's legal, but it exists.
Any additional thoughts, Jay?
I do not have additional thoughts, but it's an interesting situation, and look forward to the revised discussion.
If I may, just to comment on with a point you mentioned about having to cross other property. Broadhead is right there, and there is access along Broadhead. I mean, my property only goes, there's a 60-foot easement on the road. There's probably a 20-foot strip. Then there's a whole area down at the other end. On the plans, there's also an easement planned on that as well to give them access as well to address your concern.
I think I saw that on one of the maps.
Yep.
You
Okay.
have it drawn out.
Yep. Just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Boggs.
Yes. Looking from an aerial view, I noticed that looking down South Point Road, that in this house has a South Point address, as far as I know, and it faces South Point Road. It seems that it's very uniform along South Point Road. It's carrying that uniformity that we tried to create with zoning ordinances. And I think what was done in the past, from my understanding, there was a lot split, and which doesn't carry this uniformity that was there before. And also, I want to note that the current survey doesn't show that lot split. The survey is basically a graphic description of a legal description, and right now it doesn't show that lot split. So that may have been completed, but I think right now it's up to this board to approve a very unique condition on top of a very unique condition that was approved a while back, correct or not correct, and that's the questions that are going through my mind right now.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Davis.
Couple questions. I think you had answered the Drake question, so thank you. When I drove down by the site, and I was parked on Broadhead, and so my thought was that the person would go down their driveway, walk down Broadhead, and then try to access. Is that how you envision it? Because you mentioned earlier that it became one parcel and that you could walk across the grass. So which did you intend on, walking across the grass?
Well, the 10-foot easement, would provide a roadway. And on this 2-lot front, I think it's a 50-foot setback is required for the houses, if I'm not mistaken. So there's really 50 feet of unusable property there.
Okay. And you put another, there was another map that was in here, the end of Grow and West River. What was